Cambria, and this is Noah, my husband, and we're the Roots, and these are our puppies. This is Miss Nala, and this is Mr. Denali.
Hi, bud.
And they're babies. We love them.
Nala is 2.
Yes.
Yes, we got her right after we got married in 2019.
Yeah.
Ollie, he's just a baby. He's just barely 1.
Yes.
Make sure you're right. I'm gonna be the one for another one. Maybe then you'll know that I was never one. I'm gonna be the one for another one. I don't wanna feel you tonight. Got me.
Yeah, so we just thought we'd tell you how we got to where we are today. Just kind of our story. So,
Yep.
I
Okay.
feel like we're doing like the story time in How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Where they're like sitting on the couch like, kids, let me tell you a story.
Yeah. We got married in 2019 in Colorado.
In June.
In June. We actually met in Colorado. We grew up in the same church.
We've known of each other for a really long time, but we wouldn't say we knew each other since we were young because we never talked. We weren't friends.
Yeah.
We just knew of each other's existence.
So, we got married, moved to Arizona because Cambria had already been going to Grand Canyon University for a year. So we moved down there together and moved into a house.
And Noah already had a job there. He had been living there for the last few months. And so we just went back, and I kept going with school, and Noah kept going with work, and we just went about our lives. Noah went to work every day. I went to school every day. And we felt this tug, like, this is not what we should be doing in life. Neither of us were feeling joy. Every day was just taking more and more out of us.
Because you
That we weren't able to replenish.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We're dumping out our cup but not able to refill it. So anyway, we sat down one day and we're talking about just how
burnt out we were.
burnt out, unfulfilled, thinking about like, once I graduate college, what are we gonna do? And I mean, the obvious choice is I'm just gonna get a job in my field and you're just gonna keep working and we're just gonna work. Right?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what you do.
That's what you're supposed to do. That's normal. Okay. So, we sat down one day and had a very in-depth, deep conversation about our lives. And Noah kind of said, I remember you saying, I don't think my body can take it. I don't think I can do a 9-to-5 welding job for the rest of my life. My body can't handle it. I'm 19 years old and I come home and my hands don't really work. He broke so many glasses because he would just drop them because his hands just wouldn't really work in the morning or after work. So Noah said, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And I looked at where I was feeling very unhappy, and I was like, why should I be unhappy? I'm doing what you're supposed to do. I'm going to college, getting a degree, something I thought I was interested in. Turns out, I mean, it's interesting. Something where I asked myself, if I was put in a situation where I'm first responder to some big catastrophe, do I trust myself with that? And I quickly answered, no, I don't trust myself. And you need to if you're gonna be the first responder.
Yeah.
And so realized that wasn't probably what I should be doing. So we got a lot of advice from a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Prayed
Seeked
about it
out.
and ended up coming to the decision that we were going to move back to Colorado because all of our family is there.
My brother and sister-in-law had Southwest miles, so they flew down so that they could help us pack up and drive back with us. We actually ended up staying with them for the next 6 months.
Yeah, we lived in their basement.
Yep. Yeah, it was a huge decision, a huge change, but it was needed. And the timing worked out really well. We ended up getting back to Colorado December of 19, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was holiday time. It didn't
Yeah.
feel that weird. We were just staying with Johnny Kirsten, and we
Yeah.
were doing holiday stuff, and we were, doing all that. And then the new year kicked in, and it was like, okay, now what
Yeah.
do we do?
And we didn't know when we were gonna move out. It's not like we said we're living here 6 months. It's
No.
like 1 month passed, 2 months passed,
Yeah.
3 months passed. We're like, oh my gosh, how long do we have to be
Yeah.
here? It just ended up
Yeah.
being 6 months when we finally were able to move out.
We moved to Colorado with the intention of really choosing to figure out what we were going to be doing for income and just long term, because we didn't want to just move and then go get a jobs at some random place.
Yeah, and be right back in the same situation that we left because we said this
Wasn't for
isn't
us,
what
yeah.
we should be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that made it tricky financially, because we ended up just doing odd jobs here and there, and not really making a consistent income. And so we would save as much as we could, but
Mhm.
you can only save so much when you hardly have any income.
Yeah, so with as little money as we were trying to think of options and ideas of getting our own place because we didn't want to live with family for forever.
Yeah.
It's really hard to live with people when you're used to living by
Having your own
yourselves.
space and
So we thought of maybe like getting a condo, or we considered a mobile home, and then one day, totally out of the blue, Noah was like, what do you think about an RV? And I was like, I instantly said, no way.
no way.
I can't do that. Because I realized I'd never been in an RV before, and so
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to expect. I just thought, that sounds tiny, cramped, I don't want that.
Yeah. So it was a big change though. We went in and you were like, this is what an RV
yeah.
looks like.
I didn't know they had slides, and slides make it so big.
Yeah.
So the first one we walked into, I walked in and went, oh yeah, I could totally see myself living in this.
Right.
You were looking at an auction at one point. You went through this
Yeah.
phase where you thought an auction is going to be the best way to get a fifth wheel,
Mhm.
a camper, which it can be
Yeah.
a good way.
Well, and we're fairly handy, so we can fix stuff if needed. And
You are fairly handy.
you
I
are,
watch.
You are happy to help with whatever projects
Yes.
that need done. You were willing to get something that needed fixed.
That's true.
And so, yeah, I looked at a couple of different auctions that were like repo auctions and stuff like that. Found one, went and actually looked at it in person. It was an online auction, and we just barely didn't get it.
I felt crushed. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
I cried.
Yep.
It had my mind set. I thought, oh, this is going to be our new home. Like,
Yeah.
Like, if we really are meant to be in an RV, then this is the one we're gonna get, and we didn't get it, and I just felt so devastated. Like,
Yeah.
we lost our home even though we never had it in the first place.
We ended up finding one in Buffalo, Wyoming. Talked to the seller and drove up with a pile of cash and thought,
Yep.
we thought that was it.
Yeah, and we drove up the day after we got Nala spayed.
Yep.
I don't know if that was the best decision or not, but it kind of worked out because she
Yeah.
just lay in the back of the truck and slept the whole way up.
Right.
I mean, she needed to not move anyway, so
It was good.
yeah.
She was so good. She just slept the whole time. It
Yeah,
was
with
fine.
her cone of shame on. Oh.
But we got there, and the fifth wheel was just wrecked.
Piece of junk.
It was a piece of junk. And it had
No refrigerator.
no refrigerator, and it had like a residential toilet, and the roof needed replaced, I think.
It seemed like everything needed to be repaired. We wanted a fixer-upper to start with because we wanted to make something our own.
Yeah, we knew we were going to make some changes
Yeah.
anyway since we would be living in it.
But
so we
it was
thought,
just
if it needs repairs, why not?
too much.
It was,
Especially for our budget. It was like, even if we get this really cheap, it's going to take so much for it to even be
Yeah.
livable.
and the seller
Yeah.
wouldn't even budge on the price, and so we thought,
Even though
well,
we offered him like less than
less
half
than half, yeah.
because it was so bad. And so again, something we had set our minds on, this is probably going to be our home because we drove so far to go see it. We ended up walking away from.
Yep.
which was even harder because it's like if he changes his mind and says, oh yeah, I'll give it to you guys for whatever we offered, we didn't really want to drive all the way back up. It was a
Right.
long,
It was a long drive.
drive. So that was really hard, and we ended up walking away, which
That
required a
was-
lot of trust. Like, if
No
this
kidding.
is really what we should be doing.
Yeah.
Lord, if this is what we should be doing, why aren't you letting us do it?
Yeah, exactly.
We've already lost 2 different ones.
Yeah.
But it was only like a week later that you found another one.
Yeah.
And it was even further. It was in West Yellowstone, Montana.
Yep.
And this time you talked to the seller.
We
More in
agreed
depth.
on a price. We talked about every detail I could think of.
Yeah.
And
But
drove
the-
up to pick it up.
But the one issue with this camper is that it was financed, right?
Right. So it was bank owned, and he said, yeah, as soon as you pay me, I'll pay off the loan and I'll send you the title. And I thought, great. We got a notarized bill of sale. Seemed perfectly fine.
This one was a little different because West Yellowstone was so much further. It was probably a 12-hour
hours.
drive normally, but it ended up taking us longer. First of all, the navigator, me, missed the exit, and
Yep.
we were like, when are we supposed to exit? And I looked at the map, I was like, oh, we were supposed to exit an hour ago. So we
Oopsie.
ended up taking a different route, not one that we had planned.
Yep.
And then also,
The alternator on the truck went out halfway through, so we had to stop and swap that out. That was exciting.
since it was so far, it was something where it's like, if we're driving that far, we're buying it.
Yeah.
Drove all the way up, and we looked at it and walked in, and I don't know about you, but I walked in and went, oh yeah, this one I could live in. This
Yeah,
one
it
feels
was-
right.
No, it wasn't perfect
Oh no.
by any means, but
It
we
was
thought,
disgusting.
you know, this is.
It hadn't been cleaned at all.
Yep. So we bought it, and we actually stayed in it that night. Drove it all the way through Yellowstone, through the Tetons.
Food poisoning the first night.
You got
We went out for pizza to celebrate, and then that night I woke up with, oh, it was so bad. What do we do today?
Our camper.
Yeah. And what are we doing now?
Eating pretzels.
And
Pizza.
pizza. Yes. We went to the store and bought cleaning products right after we got it because I was like, I can't sleep in this tonight
Yeah.
with
was
it in the
gross.
condition that
Yep.
it's in. Okay, let's go.
Hi. We got water.
And toilet paper and paper towels and ice cream. And
And a bag for the toilet paper.
yeah, they don't have RV toilet paper, so we'll just use regular stuff and put it in this bag. Yeah, but it was an adventure,
worked,
and
yeah.
Nala was with us. Did the paper towels land on you? Oh, poor Pep. Ah, no! She's married. Oh no, Peppy. One thing I remember from that trip is we hit 2 birds.
Yes,
I had
we
never
did. In the same
heard-
day.
In
Both
the same day. I never heard about hitting a bird while you're driving. We came back and there was a camping trip with
Oh,
our
yeah.
church, and so we thought,
A
we
Sunday
own a
school
camper
camping
now,
trip.
why not bring it?
Yep.
And so the day after we got back, we did a bunch of cleaning. You shampooed the carpet so they wouldn't stink as bad.
That's right. We loaded
And-
a bunch of our junk in here.
Yeah, and we ended up driving this up to the mountains to camp in it that weekend.
Yep.
But the timing worked out perfectly. We got asked to house sit for someone for like 2 or 3 weeks. So we
Yep.
parked our camper on their street and lived in their house. And that's when we did a majority of that work that needed to be done in order to live in it. There were a lot of things that the seller told us. He said it's in perfect condition. There's some issues with the walls because their dog got to it, but as we started seeing it more and peeling
Getting
back
into
the
it,
surface, we realized there were a lot of things that he was not truthful about. There was a lot of
Yeah,
water
A
damage.
lot of water damage.
And he told us there was no water damage, and it was stuff that was kind of behind the wall. So it's not obvious when you're just in it. You have
Yeah.
to like peel back the wall and see the studs, and then it was there. But
So anyway, we rebuilt a whole wall. We replaced all the flooring.
They had beautiful dark blue carpet.
Oh, it was the best.
Ugh. Yeah, we moved into it after house sitting.
Yep.
And lived in it in Monument, Colorado for only a couple weeks though.
No, it was just a few weeks, and then
Oh, maybe it was like a month. Ultimately, our dream was to travel. We both
Right.
love traveling. So we planned to go to Texas for Thanksgiving of 2020 because my best friend's family lives down there and she was going to go down there. Just a couple weeks before we were leaving, we ended up canceling our trip because we still didn't have our title for the camper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said we can't go because our camper's not registered, it doesn't have a plate, because we still never got the title from the seller.
And so that was a year process to
Mm-hmm.
get our title for the camper, just to get the signed title in order for me to take that title, get a VIN inspection, do all that stuff, even get this process started. And so it was just one thing after another with that, but yeah, that really prevented us from doing a number of different trips.
Yeah, so we couldn't do our November trip, so March 2021 was the next date we set. We said we're gonna go in March.
Yeah.
We're gonna go south because we want it to be warmer because we had been spending winter in Colorado and it was really, really hard because it gets cold.
It gets cold. And frozen pipes and just keeping the inside warm.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work.
So, March came and we ended up canceling that trip due to some family things that we felt like we needed to stay back for. And also, we still didn't have our title.
That's right.
We did finally get the title in May of 21. It turns out the guy we bought it from never actually paid the loan.
Yeah.
And so when we called the bank and asked them about it, they said, you may have paid him money, but this camper does not belong to you. It
Right.
belongs to the bank because he hasn't paid it off.
Yeah.
And that was really hard for us to think. We've been living in our home for months thinking it's ours and it's not.
We were able to work with the bank, and basically after a couple of weeks of deliberation with them, they kind of said, well, this isn't your problem. We understand where the discrepancy was. We're going to release the title to you, send it directly to you. That was a huge blessing. That was like an answer to prayers. Just crazy for us.
I don't know if the idea went through your head, but the idea went through my head that we could just lose our home.
Yeah, like,
And all that money we put into it's just gone because they could just come and take the camper because it doesn't even belong to us. So then we planned to leave in July 2021
Yep.
because we were told that the property that we were staying on in Falcon, Colorado was working on being sold and they needed us off in July so they could start working on it. But then there was another church camping trip and there was a family trip planned with your family, and we thought, well, it's only a couple more weeks. It doesn't hurt to stay to do things like that.
Yeah.
So we ended up staying almost all of August. We were in Gunnison, Colorado. Then we came back to Monument, Colorado and stayed with your grandma just for our plan was like a week or two, just to get things prepared so we can leave and finally go on the road in the beginning of September. And then we both got COVID.
Yeah.
So that got pushed back even further.
Yep.
And so we set a new date, which was end of October 21.
Yep.
And we finally just decided we didn't leave.
I'm
yet.
sorry. There's always something that's going to keep us there.
There's always going to be some excuse we can think of to keep us here, especially
Yeah.
with all of our family. And we had some other excuses that had come up where we had talked about, but really shouldn't we stay for this? And we thought, if we're just going to keep making excuses, then we should just get rid of this dream of traveling because it's never going to happen.
Right.
We just got to do it and just know that there's going to be some things that we miss out on being gone. And so we did. We left on October 28th of 2021 and drove
So
to
fun.
New Mexico and started our trip, our adventure on the road. But that's how we started our traveling adventures.
Yeah.
How we got our home, and I don't know. Is there anything else you have to add?
Ta-da.
Ta-da!
If you could make sure to like the video and hit the subscribe button if you're interested in seeing more of our adventures.
If you're interested in puppy stuff, we have a lot of
Oh.
dog content.
Lots of dogs.
If you're a
like
dog lover,
the-
we could be great friends.
Yes. If you like the Goldens.
Yeah, even if you just think they're cute.
Yeah.
Like it for them. They will feel the love.